Hello and welcome back to Making It. My name is Mirabelle. I am your host, and on today's episode, we have Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, all-around cool person, pro gamer, Kevin Garrett. He wrote a song for Beyonce, so there's that. In this episode, we talk about his lifelong dream, which I won't spoil for you right now, so just be sure to listen for that. We talk about his new-ish EP, came out a couple months ago, and the process of writing and recording that, doing all of it over FaceTime throughout this COVID pandemic, getting stuck on tour, driving across Canada, getting stuck where I am actually in my home province. We also discuss the trajectory of music, the music industry, and where that's sort of headed, the direction that we're going into, especially with TikTok and, going viral and kind of all that stuff, following trends and whatnot. And songwriting, pop music, writing for other artists like Beyonce, as I just mentioned, and how pop songwriting has kind of evolved over the years. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. As always, leave a review, rate the podcast, let me know what you think. And if you want to ask questions, if you want to know who is coming onto the podcast before we record the episodes, you can join the Patreon, links in the description. And enjoy this episode with Kevin Garrett. How's it going?
It's going okay. One day at a time,
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this call.
Oh, my pleasure. I just meant in general, but yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Always good to be here in general too, though. Yes.
Yeah.
How is the rest of your Hot Wings challenge thing last night, actually?
Yeah, it was it honestly wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be.
Really?
Yeah. Just looking at the ingredients on the back of the box of the hot sauce challenge, I was ready for. Now, I mean, I should say all of that with the understanding that it still was really spicy. But
it sounded kind of like death to me when you read.
There have been things that I've eaten that would have had like spicy sauce or like dust or whatever on them that have stuck on my tongue or like in the back of my throat for like the whole day. This went away in like 5 minutes.
Okay, good.
So it was a little underwhelming on the pain threshold, but that was kind of a blessing.
Yeah. Wow. Sounds fun.
We got through it though. Yeah.
Good. Well, cool. We can start with Keep Sleeping. You just released an EP.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Thanks.
By the time this comes out, though, it won't be as new because it's probably going to be a couple months still.
Okay.
But yeah. So you wrote it, and it was produced by Xander, and it is a bop.
Thank you.
And so was this written all in the last year, like this pandemic year or two?
Yeah, I think almost all of it was done before the end of 2020, with the exception of like maybe like a verse in a song here or there and kind of some finishing touches over the first handful of months of 2021. But Xander and I met on FaceTime and then proceeded to make a bunch of records, not just the EP, but we're still making stuff just over FaceTime. And it's been kind of a nice partnership because he's just super gifted at his style of production and also like it's very versatile. So if you want to make pop stuff, you make pop stuff. If you want to make, he's dabbling in all kinds of things, and he comes from more of a beat making kind of hip hop background with his brother. So
cool.
it was a fun experiment and a bit of a departure for me.
Yeah. Did you guys ever meet in person at all during this whole process?
Yeah, we met once. I drove up to where he lives in Massachusetts and spent a day, which was supposed to be more or less like editing the EP. But instead we ended up trying some stuff for another artist he was working with.
Ooh.
Um, and doing some like vocal chops and some other things to see if we could replace certain things. Um, and so it was kind of just a fun weekend in Massachusetts. But I've met him once. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
um, yeah, I really like. I think "Why Don't You" is probably my favorite track off of that for the production side of
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah, it's really cool. And of course, "Dancing on the Internet." The lyrics in that. You said that the whole EP is like riddled in with irony.
hmm
You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think oh wow, I gotta give myself a hard time right now because uh any so many artists will do like interviews or conversations, and if they get asked questions about their music, everybody always starts with "I think." I hate when that happens, so forgive me for doing that.
No
um
worries.
the concept behind the EP and the irony behind it and everything is kind of multi-layered. um Pop music is something that I've always tried to challenge or run adjacent to and be influenced by. But this was the most down the middle kind of attempt at something that's kind of pop centric that I think I've ever released.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's partially a product of the creative process and like the way that the songs were made. But the irony of it all is, um, the songs are about nobody, but they're also about everyone at the same time. Dancing on the internet, especially, and I'm a product of that too. I mean, it's the internet has become my job,
Mm-hmm.
even though making music is my job because of the way we listen to music, and consume like my work, and my colleagues' work. You have to really engage in social media and so forth. So it was the whole record was kind of a tongue-in-cheek observation on sort of um, the status of um, a lot of things that are very specific and relatable to I hope the audience, but also creators and musicians alike.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and deeper than that, there are some like personal uh, meanings behind like "Keep Sleeping," the EP, and what stuff in Dancing on the Internet, or "Why Don't You," or "Lonely Like Me," or something like what any of those songs kind of mean to me, as always. But the general sort of um, motive behind releasing this was to kind of see who else was like in on it, and if we're all on the same page.
Mm. Yeah. I feel like everybody now who makes music just has to like be on TikTok and stuff.
hmm
And I mean, I don't understand TikTok and I can't, I don't know. But like you made all these reels, TikToks for the Lonely Like Me song when that
Yeah.
came out, which is actually really funny, by the way.
Thank
Um,
you.
are you gonna do more of those, or was that kind of it for that run?
At the moment, that's kind of it for that run, but I definitely I want to try and bring it back. Whether it's more Lonely Like Me stuff or, just, I don't know. TikTok is something I think we share kind of a similar opinion based on the way you just described it.
Mm.
Um, it's kind of a necessary evil. Um, and there's some days where I'll be very long-winded about all the things that are wrong with social media, namely TikTok. But then there are other days where 6 hours later, I've been scrolling through TikTok and watching, you know, whoever like make the perfect burger or
Hmm.
scrape paint out of a bucket or all these random things. And
Yeah.
so, um, I definitely want to. I think I've been treating TikTok as kind of this like extension of kind of that meaning I was describing with the EP. It's just kind of like I'm in on the joke. uh, this is what TikTok is for me. It's either kind of curmudgeonly takes on what people are doing on the platform, or I'm just duetting my friends,
Oh yeah.
and that's really the only use I have for TikTok as a platform as it stands. But there is an undeniable amount of just overnight value um, if you happen to um, catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. The amount of people who have gone viral, um, it's kind of insane.
Yeah, I feel like the things that some people are going viral for um, are increasingly infuriating um, for different reasons. I think, namely, for the primary reason being a lot of people are going viral off of sounds that they had nothing to do with, or things like that, and typically it kind of like tangentially helps the artist that's making the sound or whatever, but
Hmm.
um it for my money kind of redirects from the content that is actually like causing the stir versus versus what you're actually watching. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep my eye on everything, and if I see something or come up with something that's like funny, I'll consider like contributing more. But it's just such a weird foreign space to me still.
Yeah. I just kind of wonder like where you are at with your following, I guess, if you felt like you needed to hop on trends to like stay relevant, I guess.
I
That's
don't
one way to
want
put it.
to. Yeah, I don't want to rely on trending or contributing to something that's trending to be a marker for the quality of my work.
Hmm.
Um, I think that I think the songs will forever speak for themselves if they're good enough, um, in whatever capacity and to whatever audience. But again, like if something develops, and if something kind of uh, pops off of a TikTok video or something else, like I'm not gonna shut the door on it. I'm probably gonna do some digging and figure out where did this come from,
Hmm.
because I'm curious. But all of that stuff, uh, until it happens to you, feels fairly out of reach, and then when it happens to you, it's just kind of confusing. So, um, it's not my goal with music, um, even with dancing on the internet, as kind of ripe for TikTok as that song is.
Hmm.
um like it's prime TikTok material if people really want to lean into it. But um that was more of something that I just wanted to provide commentary on a subject that I don't usually sing about, don't usually write about, and it ended up being this fun song that was part of an even more fun EP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. In the creation of this EP, did like the production come first? Did you write these songs first on guitar or whatever? Or what is this culmination of?
The production came first. So Xander has tracks upon tracks upon tracks upon tracks, and he would just send me a couple here and there, and every once in a while there would be one that would jump out and be like, this I like this a lot. And then we would do some other songs that would be, melodies and so forth, not necessarily like my vibe, or maybe he wanted me to sing a hook on something to try something. And there were occasionally, like, 6 or 7 songs where it was like, I want to sing on this. And then we got to 5, and that was the EP.
Mm.
And a lot of my contribution was some arrangement ideas, kind of structuring the track to um, make it more of a song versus a beat, and then melody and lyrics for the most part.
Oh, cool. Is this how like you typically write, or is
No,
this like yeah?
complete opposite. I'm usually it's the least involved in the production I've ever been on a release,
Mm.
um, which is definitely weird for me. But at the end of the day, again, I think the songs were good enough, and they translated kind of pretty seamlessly on acoustic guitar or on a keyboard, because Xander has a pretty tight knit group of players around him that will kind of layer in things for him as he's producing. So there's a really talented piano player who kind of does a lot of the keyboard structure and plays in a kind of, I mean, he's much better than me, but he plays in a kind of similar style as I do, and so I think that's another reason why the tracks that ended up making the EP were more relatable, because of kind of the arrangement and sort of interval, sort of bass that was going on in the chord progressions.
Mm, that's cool. It sounds like really fun to just have a whole like library of tracks to choose from and just play around with.
I mean, I wouldn't totally know because Xander's the one with all the tracks, but you're right. It does sound really cool. I ask him every time he sends me like a clip or a video of something else he's working on. I always freak out. I'm like, send this to me. And it's it's on me too, because there is kind of a backlog of, I think, another handful of songs that we're still writing and we're still kind of finishing. And then, beyond me and Xander, like there are another few producers who I am obsessed with and I work really well with, that I'm also like several songs and projects deep into.
Nice.
So it's that's just kind of the other facet of the job, is just allocating time in the right way, so you're kind of being creative with the people you're creative with, equally.
Hmm. That's cool. Do you think that, well, were there any challenges of like making this EP, being
No,
it like online and stuff?
I think creatively, like there were no challenges at all. I don't think that the way I typically make music, that I could have made something in that way, the same way that Sandra and I made this record,
Mm.
um, just because I need to be in the room with an engineer, with whoever I'm playing music with. Um, I did plenty of writing on my own, and I have a studio, and I can, get things to a certain level, and we did that with Pure Imagination and the Christmas song and some other stuff. But in terms of a fully fledged project, um, there's like a whole list of steps that require that sort of in-person experience
Mm-hmm.
that are missing when you're working remotely. So
Yeah.
this experience was kind of an exception to the rule because of the circumstances, um, and also just because of another, again, a commentary on how good Xander is. But typically I'm not doing something like that.
Mm. How did you two meet?
A mutual friend connected us because he thought that we would be good together, and he was definitely right.
Nice.
Um, Xander's a really young guy. Xander is, and he's pretty deep in some hip hop projects, and he works pretty closely with his brother on things, and his ability to kind of create his sort of signature on and put his signature on all the stuff that he works on is really unique for somebody his age.
Mm.
And I've done a lot of Zoom sessions over the past 2 years and a lot of FaceTime meetups with producers and other people, and it's a pretty infrequent scenario where you connect with somebody like that over FaceTime, and it all boils down to the quality of the music,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was a pretty anomalous experience. But yeah, we met digitally because of a mutual friend.
Cool. That would be, it would be kind of awkward if you guys didn't hit it off, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been plenty of sessions where the vibe isn't there, and you're both, or whoever all is involved in the Zoom call or the FaceTime call, they want to get a song done, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and this happens in person too with new sessions, like, it's very selective when you're working with people and you actually connect with them. And that's why I have such a short list of people that I like collaborating with, like, repeatedly, especially for stuff that I want to put my name on.
Mm.
Um, when it comes to working with other artists and kind of expanding that sort of profile, I'm open to everything. And you can ask anybody on like my team. Like, I give everything a chance, and it's unless there's a scheduling issue or unless it's something that just doesn't line up with me creatively. Like, I'm gonna try and say yes to everything, because you never know, like, who you can collaborate with and connect with in that sense. But
Mm.
it's still a very it's a very, like, picky process that you don't really have control over. Like,
Yeah.
somebody can be an amazing songwriter, an amazing producer, and you can also, like, I know I'm not terrible, but like, I'm pretty good at my job too, and we can get in the room, and uh I've done XYZ, they've done ABC, and then we get together and just doesn't work, and that's
Mm.
totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
So taking the in-person thing out of it and like being able to joke like that and only having like a screen to talk to each other on, if it doesn't work out, and that's kind of the vibe, it does get kind of strange, but um it's nothing that we're not used to.
Yeah. And for these collabs and like, um, do you find it? Do you? I guess you collab a lot. Would you say that is something that you have to get used to, or was it pretty simple to kind of get into? Because I was talking to Marie a couple weeks
Hmm.
ago, and we talked about collabs a little bit, and I was mentioning how I like started doing a couple songwriting collabs on stream actually, and but I was realizing that like as an introvert, I don't actually like writing co-writing because I feel like I have to have my ideas all like wrapped up, presented nicely, and then like let the other person know.
Yeah.
Whereas like the person I was working with, they're very extroverted, and so they just shot out all of their ideas and like just wanted to bounce ideas off of me. But like I was
Hmm.
very opposite in that, and I realized I like doing it like by myself a lot
Yeah,
more.
you're absolutely right. I mean, personalities in any situation, if they're kind of not aligned, or not like tolerant of one another, then whatever collaboration it is, whether it's creative or otherwise, isn't really going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm kind of singularly involved in my writing process too, but I guess over time, because I also have been known to write for other people as well. The openness to ideas when you know that it's not going to be for you at the end of the day, um, is a bit easier to bring yourself to, at least in my experience, because um, at first when I would go into like camps or sessions or things like that, I would be kind of curious why I was there. You don't give yourself enough credit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if you remind yourself that you're there for the same reason everyone else is, then it kind of flip your perspective on that and remember that we're all just trying to make a song. Um, and so very rarely, if I'm doing pitch writing or pitch sessions, um, is my energy going into, well, I'm going to walk out of this with something that I want to release. Um, it's more frequently like, we're going for this person, or like, I kind of take more of a backseat approach on those sessions, and kind of chime in when it's necessary. And you just kind of find the way that you are most like effective in those rooms. And then that kind of, for me at least, takes a little bit of the pressure off of, one, delivering, and two, being concerned that what you're contributing or what you're giving away either isn't enough or is too much of you. Because
Mm-hmm.
one thing that you got to be concerned with, if you're an artist in your own right and you're writing for other people, is giving up your stuff, to the point of like almost just handing over your sort of identity, your signature, your anything.
Mm.
And it's kind of a weird line to toe when you're writing for others.
Would you say that like you say like giving up your own identity, but then would you say that you have to kind of absorb their identity a little bit or put yourself in their shoes or
Yeah. I mean, the channeling whatever, whether it's in a brief form or if they're actually in the room, that's like the main goal. And then you can kind of fill in the blanks around their thought process and get a sense of um what they want to say.
mm-hmm.
A lot of times the artist isn't even there. So um you're aiming, and that's mistake number one. If you're in a session and the goal is to write for pitch, um and you go into it saying, okay, we're going to write a song for whoever, you're not going to get a song done. And if you do get a song done, it's going to be a song that that person's never going to hear, because it's just not it's not going to be the same um caliber of writing that you're all capable of doing if you're just in there together, like focusing on the music rather than focusing on where the music belongs.
Mm-hmm.
um and while it's so nice to have the artist in the room, that's just so increasingly uncommon, because a lot of artists aren't writing. So you you rely on what the A&R is telling you, or so forth, in camps and sessions and stuff, and it can become kind of soul sucking sometimes.
Yeah,
But
I can imagine.
occasionally you again, that's why it's so important to make sure you stay in touch and stay connected with the people that you vibe with the best creatively, because those groups of people, you can make anything for anybody.
Mm.
And if you're put in a room with strangers that you've never written with before or worked with before, and you already know that you're kind of introverted and kind of stuck in your ways, like, and on top of that, everybody's like, okay, let's make a song for this artist. You're distracted.
Mm-hmm.
There's no focus on anything. It's like, okay, who are these people that are in this room with me? What am I writing? Oh my God, does this sound good for this person?
Yeah.
Like, this can't be right. And then you leave kind of just confused with like a half finished idea, and you never talk to those people again.
Mm.
So I would rather, like, if I can't get a song done in a session, text my friend afterwards who I was just writing with, and just be like, hey, I'll see you like in a couple days. Let's try again.
Mm-hmm.
Versus nice meeting you, and then that idea, it could be great, sits in an inbox for 8 months, or 8 months or more, and you just forget about it.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I feel like if that
I'm
happens.
very long-winded about the pitch writing process, um, because I'm very long-winded in general, but about the pitch writing process, because of kind of the state of the union that is um, the recording industry. But there's a lot of writers that are very successful and very good at what they do. It's really hard to write a pop song. It's really hard to write, three hooks on top of one another, because that's all pop songs are nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't really the type of the structure that used to exist in popular music, where you have like a verse, and then a B verse, and a pre-chorus, and a chorus, and a bridge, and all that stuff. We all like to still call those sections those things, but most of the time you're writing over the same chord sequence, you're writing over the same beat. The only thing that's changing is like a couple sounds here and there. And
Mm-hmm.
so it becomes this weird math problem of, okay, you come up with the best melody in the whole day, and you put that in the front, and then you come up, and then you have to beat that, and that's the next section, and then you have to beat that again, and that's your chorus. I don't like that.
Oh, yeah. That's it's complicated a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it
some people are really
seems
good at it. It's really hard to do.
I mean, listening to pop music nowadays, I feel like it doesn't seem that complicated, or like it feels easy. It feels because it's repetitive.
Yeah,
Um, but I guess there's more
but
to
that's what
it.
it is. You know, I think if I mean if it sounds easy, then all the power to you. But I mean, one, the subject matter is um not in my vernacular most of the time. Uh, and on top of that, like a lot of pop music is just a bunch of jingles now because of TikTok and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times I've heard a song on TikTok or on Instagram or any form of social media, and I've heard like 30 seconds of it. And then you hear it on the radio, and I didn't even know what the rest of the song sounds like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You kind of
It's
forget.
almost to the point of like you would hear a song on the radio and you're kind of in disbelief that the rest of the song even exists.
Yeah. You forget that it's actually, there's more to it than 30 seconds.
Right.
You wrote a song for, it's a pretty small artist, you know? I don't think many people know this Beyonce person. Um,
Uh,
but
yeah,
yeah. But
did that.
was that, if I remember correctly, like you had already written Pray You Catch Me, and then they approached you about wanting to use that, or
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I wrote the song, and I mean, I was right place, right time. And,
Yeah.
you know, not too much was changed beyond that. And it was an amazing experience. And obviously an incredible album to be a part of. And she did a great job with it. Um, and yeah, it was a song that was very near and dear to me. Um, and that's kind of it obviously opened a lot of doors, especially in the songwriting world, um, for you know more of a pursuit down those lanes. But it was a really tremendous honor to be a part of that, and got me to the Grammys, and I was very lucky um to meet her and sort of to be able to speak creatively like that with her was really cool to see somebody that far up that is still kind of as involved.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was yeah, I remember that whole experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you like get to talk to her throughout the process of well, I mean, I guess the song was already written, but did you get to talk to her throughout the process of making that song, or like of giving it to her, or like was this sort of an after sort of meeting?
It was mostly after.
Mm.
There was some discussion over the course of the process, but really it all kind of revolved around the notion that that song belonged on the record in whatever capacity. And so um I kind of was just most of the time it was about from the point of handing the song off to the song coming out uh almost I want to say like 2 years.
Oh,
um
really?
yeah. And um kind of just waiting and wondering and getting an update and then talking about it and then hearing something and it was all very there's a massive truck driving by me right now.
Oh,
Sometimes on my street it's like the Hells Angels. It'll just be like a bunch of motorcycles anyway.
that must be
um
great for recording.
it's super awesome for recording. You got
Hmm.
to pick your right hours.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the lemonade process was really cool. And um I I would be only thrilled and honored to get involved in whatever she's up to next.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So you're an independent artist, correct?
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
I guess this comes from myself and also DJ. Um, he says, what are some opinions on benefits or downfalls, possibilities or limitations of working with labels versus being independent?
Um. So I would say that the first limitation of being independent would be resources
Mm.
um versus working with a label. But the limitation at being at a label is the lack of prioritization, especially if you aren't making exactly what the label wants you to make in that instance. Because a label at the end of the day is a business, and if they don't see numbers, they're not going to put energy into the things that aren't giving them numbers. And as an independent artist, there are no restrictions on creativity. There is no sort of lens placed on your music that deems it correct or incorrect. In that same argument, you also are kind of bereft of the pathways that get more eyeballs and more ears on you and your songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what kind of makes stuff like TikTok a bit more interesting, because of the seemingly more accessible sort of landscape for music to be discovered.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so few and far between when it comes to what goes viral, that being independent is so much work. It's it's heavily dependent on touring. It's heavily dependent on finding creative ways to jump through the loopholes of marketing and branding on a shoestring. And then until you build that network and that sort of inherent capital and value that you can put back into your company, it can be miserable. But I also know that if you get shelved at a label and your music never comes out, that's even worse.
Yeah.
So, I've never been like staunchly anti-label.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty close to signing, and I wouldn't be against it now either if the people are right. And because I think a lot of times you'll get stuck in a contract because of the name on the door and the shiny lights at the main entrance and who else is involved.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, like the bigger the name that's at the same place as you are, the less attention you're going to get. So as exciting as it is to see, whomever on the same roster as you, um, that means that a lot of the resources and a lot of the attention are going into those bigger names because they're
Mm-hmm.
going to make the bigger bucks. And so you have to constantly either outkick your coverage and kind of think so far outside of the box that you almost lose yourself creatively, um, or again, you're just so good, you're so talented that the music speaks for itself. The problem is a lot of labels aren't really signing good music.
Mm-hmm.
They're signing big platforms. So if you want to be, I guess, a popular musician these days, have a whole hell of a lot of followers, and then have some writers make a song for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Aren't there like a lot of TikTokers being signed nowadays?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's too. I mean, I know a few of them are on major labels, and it's a pretty easy publicity kind of money grab if the song's good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm curious to see how many of them like really pursue the music career, because it seems like a lot of people are treating it like a hobby.
Mm. It might be like a
And
15 minutes of fame sort of thing.
well, just 15 more minutes of fame because they're already famous. And I think that when streaming really started kicking off, and when people completely stopped buying music and thought that it's something that just belongs to them, that was a complete, I don't think this is a word, but the complete devaluation or devaluation of the art product that is music.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, I don't think anything exists without music. No, there really isn't anybody interested in silent films anymore. The television industry and commercial industry isn't going to just put up commercials and programs without music in it.
Yeah.
Your morning jog isn't going to be as smooth and as helpful without like your playlist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And whenever, streaming companies and the consumer themselves decided, well, this is mine now, and this is free, and this is it. Um, that kind of just like sort of changed the perspective on like where music sits in terms of the discussion of what art is. Um,
Mhm.
and that's a totally different conversation about like, well, you can get into like cryptocurrencies and all and NFTs and stuff, but I think long story short, I just want to continue to make stuff that I'm proud of and release it, and not be so down on myself when it's not you know hundreds of millions of views or streams, because if all I have to do is like look at what's being signed and realize they haven't picked up an instrument in their life. So you just got to remember that the music industry is a business that cares much more about the business than the music.
Yeah, I guess it's difficult. There's like a fine line between just making music for yourself and like you can't have one without the other, I guess,
Yeah.
if you want to make your passion your living, I guess.
Hmm.
Um,
Totally right.
yeah. I was wondering, like, if you're doing music full time. Are you doing music full time? Is this your
Hmm.
full time job? Have you
Yeah.
ever had like at any point did you ever have to like get a different job or something?
When I was in college, before I started putting stuff out, like I was doing a few jobs at once, a couple like work from home gigs, some studio maintenance stuff, and then also several attempts at trying to become a bartender, because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
something that I've always wanted to do. Um, but I was just talking to my friend about it the other day, who's in the restaurant business, and he was like, "You just need to lie next time." Um, he's like, "How many times do you go to a bar back interview or a bartender interview, and you realize that all you had to do was just..." The reason that I wouldn't get hired was because um, my experience was not, I hadn't used like a point of sale system, like a
Oh, yeah.
cash register
Mm-hmm.
basically, which is an iPad, and I use that every time I go on tour to sell T-shirts. So like um it was, and it is what it is. But prior to getting lucky with Spotify and going on tour and everything, I had 2 or 3 jobs at once. I was living in New York, and then when I signed a publishing deal and found out that Beyonce was writing one of my songs, I quit everything on the same day,
Oh,
and
dang.
just kind of went for it. Um, and we're still just kind of going for it. It's been a long journey and a learning experience nonetheless. I think I work better knowing that um, I don't have something to fall back on, um, because then I get lazy. And I found myself in that position occasionally, especially over the past 2 years, without having things to do, without having a schedule, and without having, um, you know, because I don't get paid to like go into sessions and so forth. Like, but that's work for me. That's me clocking in.
Mm.
Um, but without those things on my calendar and without um, objectives to meet, whether it's uh, X amount of sessions in a week when I'm away, or getting this song written, or just putting a song out at all, um, then I kind of just spend too much time just thinking about it all and not getting anything done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that if and this is all to say also that I'm in a position where I'm very lucky to not have to uh, have a secondary source of income, because music has been so good to me thus far. But it definitely affects my sort of work ethic if I know that if creatively it's not working out, um, then I can just kind of put it off to the side and focus on my other job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I try very hard to kind of minimize the sort of, I don't call them distractions, but like things that can take up more of your time that you can put into um, the thing that you really want to go after, whether it is what you're passionate about or something that you just want to, succeed in.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Can we go back to the bartending? Would you ever, would you ever like do it again if you
Yeah,
had the
I'm
chance?
super passionate about that. Not to kind of mince words here, but like I love. First of all, I think my dream is to open a concert venue. My dream is to open a space that obviously would also have a bar. Um, but there's something really cool about the idea of owning a bar, especially in like your hometown or like whatever town you live in, and
Mhm.
like your friends visit, or like in music at least, I got people that I see on tour all the time, when the world works, and we're in whatever city. If they're in my city, and I'm like, let's just go to this place, let's just go to my place or whatever, and
Mhm.
it's like, I don't know, that sort of display of like hospitality and stuff is really appealing to me, and I'd want that kind of that's one thing that I want to be able to flex on my friends one day.
Show off.
But yeah, the concert venue itself is the one thing that is a dream of mine. But
Mhm.
in terms of bartending, I'd love to. I mean, I practice just on myself, just like making cocktails and stuff, and seeing what works. And I love the science behind it. I'd love to take classes and just to be good at it.
Yeah.
But if an opportunity presented itself, I would definitely try it out and want to go for it.
I feel like parties would be very fun at your place.
I love yeah, it doesn't happen as much anymore because of everything, but
Mhm.
I love having people over, and two things that I'm really excited about offering people are a really good charcuterie board,
Mhm.
um and a cocktail if they are the drinking type. I remember I had a holiday party and I made a batch cocktail. It was in like a pitcher with a valve, and then I was also like making other cocktails on the side. I was as close to being a bartender as I could have gotten, and I think
Amazing.
for the time being, that's kind of my limit. But
That's awesome.
I don't like big parties, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like intimate gatherings,
Yeah.
and I like being in control. Um, so I definitely like hosting.
Mm.
But there's definitely a fine line that gets crossed if like the party gets too big, or I'm in a space that I'm not comfortable in,
Yeah.
and I also can't just kick everybody out.
That birthday party that you had to go to after your stream.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How's that?
That was yeah, I was in and out. That was the whole thing.
Yeah. I feel similar, I think.
Yeah.
Or sometimes just like don't even go to parties if I know that they're gonna be very big and loud and just like full of strangers.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I that's why I
Sometimes
don't like
it's
going
fine.
outside in the first place, because there's people out there, So
So COVID's done you pretty well.
this was pre-COVID. This was this was my MO before COVID.
Yeah.
But yes, I
That's so.
guess in the sense of I've been forced to kind of not have to go outside. Yeah, it's been delightful.
Yeah. Yeah. So that concert venue that you would want to open, would you open that in Pittsburgh or like your hometown,
Uh,
or is that?
yeah, I would love to open in Pittsburgh. I think, to be honest, it's kind of I have a feeling, just based on a friend of mine that's doing a lot of stuff, that if I get one open, I'll get bit by the bug, and I'll probably want to explore other places, like other
Uh-huh.
cities I love and stuff, and try stuff like that. But the dream goal is represent for your hometown, and Pittsburgh's always been kind of a weird music city where there are cool venues, and definitely artists like roll through on tours and stuff, but
Mhm.
in my experience, like, my agents don't put Pittsburgh on the tour list. They don't run me through my own city. I have to like put
Oh.
those shows up myself.
Hmm.
It's kind of a hard market, and so I would like to make it more accessible, especially for smaller artists, um, and also the local community, which I know exists. It's just hard to access sometimes because, one, it's kind of closed circles, and two, again, there's just not as much opportunity as there should be in a town like Pittsburgh.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's the same as where I am. I'm in Calgary right now, and
Oh yeah.
I realized that when I asked you about this time, I said Pacific time, um, but neither of us are even in Pacific time.
No, it worked out great. I
Yeah.
kind of work on Pacific time.
Yeah, nobody knows. I'm in mountain time, but like nobody knows
Hmm.
what the heck that is. So,
Yeah. So you're
yeah.
2 hours behind me.
Yeah. Okay, you know what
And
mountain time
Calgary,
is. Yeah.
well, I was just in Denver, so
Okay.
that's mountain time. But here's my my thing about Calgary. I've played I played there once. The Midwestern and Western half of Canada is like my favorite place to tour.
Oh.
Um, and I played in, was it called St. Knox Church? Does
I
that
think
sound
that's a
familiar?
thing. Yep, I think
Yeah,
so.
we played there, and then we went to Edmonton and played someplace called the Windspear Center.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then went off to drove. I was oh, it was a crazy trip. I was driving myself on this tour, just
Oh.
me in my car, in the middle of February
Oh
through the
no.
Canadian Rockies,
Like winter,
and
dead of winter.
oh my gosh, it was insane. And we started in Winnipeg, and it was minus 40.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if that's Celsius or Fahrenheit, you know. And I think there was a crazy storm in Calgary that February, or in the
Ooh.
area too. And so they were really worried about me making this drive because I was going through like Banff and then through the mountains. I drove
Yeah.
through like where all these, there's some crazy town names in Canada, like Medicine Hat,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and it's cool. I ate at a Boston's there. That was really nice. A pizza place. But anyway, it's like I did a 16 or 18-hour drive from um
All by yourself?
Edmonton. Yeah,
Oh
from
my
I think
goodness.
I went from Edmonton back through Calgary all the way to Vancouver,
Mhm.
and I stopped at Lake Louise.
Mhm.
That was a big mistake, because there's like no service when you're driving through those mountains. There's
True.
really nothing going on if you're not by any town. I was out of gas,
Oh no.
um, and my lights were all covered up in like dirt and snow and stuff. And earlier in the day, they were like, "Yeah, just be careful you don't get stuck in the mountains because no one's there to help you, and also like they might shut the whole highway down if they have to like howitzer the snow off the
Yeah.
mountain." And so I was starting to talk to myself. The only positive in all of it is it was starting to get warmer
Mhm.
because once you get out to Vancouver, it warms up a little bit, right?
Mhm.
But anyway, I
Oh
really
my
like
goodness.
Calgary.
Come on back. We welcome you.
I might be back. I might be back next year. I think
Oh
there's some
yeah.
stuff in discussion for finally getting back to those cities. I haven't been back since.
Nice. How long ago was that?
That was a tour with James Vincent McMorrow in February of 2015.
Oh wow. It's been a
And I know
while.
like Calgary and Edmonton, I think they both have folk festivals.
Yeah.
Um and I was talking to the promoters on and off over the next couple of years, and like, when are you coming back? And just hasn't happened.
Oh
And
man.
I wish I could have made it sooner than whenever it does happen again, but I will be back. Yeah.
Yeah. Good, good, good. If you need an opener, you know, just saying.
Oh hell yeah. We got it sorted.
Awesome.
Dermot Kennedy, actually, I don't know if you know that name, but he was going on tour earlier this year, and he had he did something really cool. I think he had like a opener for the whole tour, but because it was like a tour after the pandemic and everything, he um had somebody local in every city. Oops, excuse
Ooh.
me, somebody local in every city open the show all together, and it was
Mhm.
really special. It's really kind of a fun thing to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, as soon as I get dates back up, then everything starts moving in my head again, and I got ideas and everything. So
That's exciting.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that because I know for Hoax you did like tour vlogs.
Hmm.
Is that something that you're gonna keep up?
Yeah, I need to get better at doing them myself, because obviously they translate better if I have somebody with a camera following me around.
Mhm.
Um, but if I can get one of my friends that were a part of those to jump on, I mean, since we did those, um, the two guys that I was working with have both gotten some like really serious looks. Like
Oh,
now, the one guy's working with um a bunch of other really big artists and
sweet.
really talented photographers, and the other guy is doing really amazing commercial work and stuff.
That's
So I might need
awesome.
to find another. Like college student who wants to go on tour for a few weeks, and make something new.
Um,
Um,
I will also put out there that I do videography and photography. Just
this is incredible. This is just an incredible conversation.
actually, when you're stuck in Lake Louise, like at least you had the views, right? Did you
It
actually
was
go check out
yeah
Lake Louise?
yeah. I walked on it. It was frozen over. Banff is one of my like favorite places on the whole planet that I've been to, um, and I love it over there. I've only been there in the winter,
Okay.
just during that tour, but I've seen the pictures in like the spring and summertime, and it's perfect. I
Hmm.
walked I walked pretty far into that lake, and there's like a hotel that was right there too,
Yeah.
and it was really cool.
Hmm.
But that was when I posted a picture of me on that lake, and James texted me saying, "You do realize that the longer you stay in Lake Louise, the more of a chance that you're not going to get to Vancouver on time for the show in 2 days." And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, you're right. You're right."
True. Yeah, but worth
So
it.
it was a short trip, but it was definitely worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're traveling alone and when you're touring alone, like I just want to take advantage of like
See the sights and
the
everything.
the ability the opportunity to have your own schedule for the
Hmm.
most part. Like when you're with others, you gotta make sure everybody's on board to do X, Y, and Z, and I just wanna get from A to B, and then whatever happens in between is on my time.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I really like touring by myself.
Yeah. I love traveling by myself too. You don't have to rely on anybody or like sometimes because as I said, I do photography and I love just like roaming around and taking pictures of art, actually puddles. If you ever
Nice.
like if you kneel down and look at puddles and take pictures of the reflection, it's really trippy and it's really cool.
There's
Especially if you
there's
like
a yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
just like if you edit it and like rotate it, people are
That's
like,
awesome.
what is real?
I didn't get that deep into mine, but there's one selfie. I'll call it a puddle selfie. Um, that I took
Hmm.
in Toronto, and it's was for the longest time my favorite picture I've ever taken of myself on my phone, and it was all the puddles doing it. It had nothing to do with me.
Nice. Yeah. So DJ again asked, how confident and comfortable are you with who you are right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say not. I'd say creatively, I've gotten as confident as I ever have been,
Mm.
but um, in the professional landscape, it's cutthroat out here. And I think that I'm a very sensitive person, like a lot of artists and songwriters.
Mm.
And so, I've spent my whole career being told no, and that definitely toughens you up, but it doesn't make it any easier. Every time it happens,
Mhm.
when you know how good you are,
Mhm.
that occasionally that can kind of trip you up on that confidence sometimes, and like, well, maybe this isn't that good. But then all I really need to do is kind of just like turn the radio on and kind of take stock of like what's happening. And I don't know. I like to remind myself that you always have to find the hook in everything, even the stuff that you hate,
Mhm.
in life, not just music, because people like it for a reason. And so I would say that, again, creatively, I think I'm moving in the right direction, and in terms of the way I perform and like so forth. Streaming on Twitch has helped me kind of like be more expressive, like impulsively,
Mhm.
and kind of make me a little faster, I think, in terms of being clever about things, and like kind of expressing my sense of humor in different ways
Yeah.
versus prior to Twitch, everything is so planned and everything is so, um, you know, thought out step by step. Like we're putting this out this day, song goes out this day, you're doing this day, and everything, and that still exists.
Mhm.
But like the freedom that you have when you're streaming,
Mhm.
because there isn't an editor, and there isn't something that's like piecing things together section by section. Like you just have to be even smarter. And I think that has helped me in terms of how I perform on stage, because a lot of the set, if I'm talking about songs or anything, I'm usually reacting to either what's going on in the crowd or like bringing up a story that I've never said on stage before,
Mhm.
or just something new, random commentary, and it's stand up adjacent. Songwriters and comics are very similar in that they're writing commentary on things that a lot of people don't want to talk about in the first place. They just want to listen to. Yeah, I would say that I'm I'm confident in myself. I don't know how confident I am in uh, the business surrounding me.
Mhm. Yeah, that kind of brings up then, like, I would assume that you have encountered imposter syndrome before, or does that
Oh,
happen now?
um, yeah, I think I did the I think thing again. Fuck.
That's
Um,
I well, I think well, because we got really vulnerable on my Twitch stream last
yeah.
week, kind of pretty randomly, because I brought up this confidence thing, and I was talking about like how do we gain confidence? Where does confidence come from? And then we got it all into like talking about. I started asking people what their strengths are, and we had a whole deep conversation. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's the I think thing. Like nobody wants to talk about their strengths because, for me anyway, and for a few people, it feels like it's like borderline arrogant, or you don't want to sound cocky, and so yeah, yeah.
You know what I think it is for me? The the friendships that I've created as a product of my music when it comes to other people in music or Hollywood or wherever, they're my friends and I look at them as people, and when I'm hanging with them, it's like I'm hanging with my friends from home, and it's I put everybody in the same kind of bucket. But what I've obviously like tripped myself over is my experience with them doesn't exist with my friends
Mm,
from like home, or like somebody else that I'm talking to that doesn't know that person or whatever, or knows them only as a celebrity or something. And so I have definitely caught myself in situations where I mention something, and then that kind of translates to, I guess, just the learning lesson from that for me is I always have to remind myself that I'm in a very like very lucky position, um of the success that I have flirted with in the music industry, especially independently, is something that I'm proud of because of the fact that I think that I'm good at my job. But also, I know a lot of people that kick my ass musically that are not in the position that I'm in, and it's all relative. And I think something that we're all conditioned to do is to compare, um, and that's likely more often than not to our detriment, because we're only comparing upwards and we're
mhm,
not comparing either equilaterally or below us, because we're inherently pretty selfish people.
mhm,
So the goal is to, for me at least, as frustrating as my work gets and as my job gets and the things around me that are in and out of my control get, reminding myself that, okay, I still have these songs online. I'm able to tour the country. Uh, people I'm very lucky to have fans that listen to my music more than once and are the reason that my music is keeping a roof over my head. Versus, I mean, this goes back to the discussion about like, have you had like second jobs and stuff and things like that. Like, I'm in a position to say I don't need one. But I know so many people that, again, are so much better than me most of the time, so much nicer than me, and they're still um, doing the side hustles and doing things that are enabling them to continue to pursue music, even in the moments where they don't want to. And I'm in a spot where I find myself in a fight with myself about wanting to pursue it at all, and I still don't have to lean on something else to keep my lights on. So that mixed with kind of, I don't get like recognized very often. Like I don't like it's I'm not that type of I'm not at that level of like popularity or anything where
People
that's
don't
something that
run
really
up
like
to you screaming and asking for
no
selfies.
where that like crosses my sort of desk. But you know, if that ever becomes something else, I'm sure I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But in the meantime, like the thing that I always want to keep focusing on is one, making the thing that I'm most proud of before sharing it with anybody, and just kind of constantly learning from my palette of influence and experiences while keeping in mind that this could be a very different situation for me minus, a few lucky outcomes.
Mhm.
So imposter syndrome is super real. But like most everything else in life, I think that awareness and intention are two of the most important personality or character traits to like put a lot of weight into. And so, yeah, constantly learning about maintaining my awareness of like what I've been afforded to do and what I'm still afforded to do, and also the value of your intention of why you're still doing it, remembering why you started in the first place, and trying to express those sentiments to the people that are giving you their time to listen and to watch and to observe you grow as an artist and a human.
Mhm.
It's very priceless to be in a situation like that.
Yeah, those are really good points. I think going back to like the whole going viral on TikTok sort of thing, like yes, you get a lot of fans or a lot of people. You're viral, you're popular, but that connection, that I don't think there's maybe not as much of a deeper connection with like your fans. Like maybe I don't think there's as much depth, and so
Everybody's just dancing on the internet. Like that, they
yeah.
just. I mean, it's the song is not attached to the trend.
Hmm.
You even see TikToks where it's like, hey, if you use this sound, you'll get 1 million views,
Yeah, pretty much.
and it's like, okay, but what's the sound? Like people will just use the sound with the volume down, and they'll just do whatever they
Hmm.
see everybody else doing.
Hmm.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if that's how a bunch of people make those videos sometimes.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I mean, I'll still be the I'll still be the get off my lawn music industry curmudgeon, that the purist that like wants people to stop watching music and
Hmm.
start listening again.
No, I
Um,
I like your approach a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, it's funny. It's funny TikTok and stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about having their passion as their career, and it kind of sometimes it kills that passion.
Mhm.
Have you ever felt burnt out?
Yeah. Um, it's more on the writing for others side,
Mm.
because it's such a bottomless pit of it's a song graveyard. Like the pitch folder in my hard drive is songs that will likely never come out and that are so good and just might not make sense for me,
Mm.
or just were never pitched because the people working the songs aren't good at their jobs, or like the artist in mind didn't want them at the time or something, and then they
Mm.
become outdated, and it is what it is. But
What if you just
um,
made like a bunch of different profiles for yourself and release it under?
well, I think there is some potential opportunity in side projects and so forth, especially in this sort of, not to go back on like trendiness and stuff, but like the NFT world and things where you can create kind of separate identities for yourself
Mm.
um, in new arenas of consumption, which
Hmm.
I think is a pretty interesting discussion that I'm not well versed in yet and not nearly as informed as I need to be. But
Yeah.
I've definitely been brainstorming a lot more on how to maybe kind of resurrect some things that have just kind of been sitting around for a while. But to that end, like there's music that I know I'm putting out that I've had for going on 2 years.
Mm.
It's been done, and well, even longer than that, to be
Really.
honest, like 4 or 5 years. And it's not out yet because of all the, you know, industry, like business stuff that goes on with behind the scenes with getting music sorted. And
Mhm.
so um there it's a it's a blessing and a curse to have all this material ready to go.
Mhm.
And that means that like those songs that are so deep on the list um might might never see the light of day.
That's
But I also
kind of
do
sad.
kind of like in this sort of evil villain kind of way. I like the idea of being able to like plug my phone into my car and listen to things that nobody else can hear um for you know the drive to the grocery store or whatever.
Yeah. I get, well, whenever I make anything, I like immediately want to share it.
Hmm.
But then that kind of loses the excitement, I guess, of actually putting it out there onto Spotify and stuff and then making people wait. And there's some sort of like that anticipation. But if I share bits of it or whatever, if I share leak the whole thing, then there's no anticipation.
Do you feel like when you're making something and uh it sits for too long before you share it with anybody that you also kind of lose sight of the message behind it or anything? Like sure the
Yeah.
anticipation of the rollout and everything or sharing it on your end is very exciting and everything, but the message behind the music, if I'm sure after a certain period of time, especially if it's like a personal experience
Hmm.
and your music is your coping mechanism,
Hmm.
that it doesn't really kind of react to you the same way that it did in the,
In the moment,
you know,
sort of.
initial sort of moment. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But I
Yeah.
guess where I'm at with my music, like more of like this popular side of music, because I've been more in the classical realm, I guess, for a while, and just singing songwriting has been more of a hobby. And now
Hmm.
I'm like merging the two and trying to make more of the singing songwriting like a prominent thing. And so I feel like I only just started releasing music onto Spotify like last year.
Yeah.
And so and no, I'm just doing everything myself. And so there's nobody to answer to or anything. And so I've actually just been putting things out kind of when I'm done with it. When I make it, then it comes out. But there are a couple songs that I've written and just they're like phone recordings that get lost. And then I found something the other day and I was like, this is really sad. What even? Why? What even is this about? It like sounds like a breakup song, but I didn't break up with anybody. I was like, whoa. um, but yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes it'll just come out of nowhere, huh?
yeah, yep. And it's so much easier to write sad songs, I think.
Yeah. Well, that I think is something that we're sort of all rooted in
Hmm.
is this weird kind of obsession with investigating like loss or something of the like
Hmm.
versus, you know, I don't know. I mean, it could be as simple as like when you're happy, you just don't have anything to talk about. So
Exactly.
like when, so when you're, we love being sad because one, it's easier to make fun of, and two, it's just more a broader brush to paint with. Like
Hmm.
you can cover more ground talking about things that hurt you than things that aren't doing anything bad to you. What I should say is, what you're doing with releasing music kind of just whenever you want. That is all of our dreams. Like that is like you like that's but it's just exactly what you said, right? It's you make something and if you want to share it in the first place, that's the ultimate victory
Hmm.
because you're like, okay, I'm comfortable with expressing this and sharing it with people that want to listen. And then if you have the ability to just release it, then job finished. Like it's you know, once it's out, it's for everybody else.
True.
And so, you know, if you get to the point where you want to put it out, the longer you have to wait to put it out, the less likely you'll be excited about it as you would have been as soon as you could release it. And that definitely happened to me to some extent with this EP.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened to me with like everything that I've released because it's all so back ordered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think one thing that I've definitely always tried to maintain with the music that I'm releasing is doing everything that I can to focus on the material that to write things that are applicable to more than just that initial moment or just that initial sequence. So like not generalize, but kind of like provide observation from like the top down versus like right in front of you. So then, and this is why I like sharing the music and kind of seeing how people react to it, because somebody can come up to you and say, I really like your song because it did this for me. And it could mean absolutely the complete opposite of what it meant to you. And then, but that song for that person is paramount to them getting over or figuring out or just decoding whatever thing in their life.
Yeah.
And so I kind of try and play the writer and the listener with my music and see how can I listen to this years from now and apply it to something new, even though I know what I initially wrote it about, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
And that kind of helps with the lame duck period of waiting to release stuff. But I'm very envious of the ability to just release whenever.
Well, I've been thinking about, though, like releasing whenever. It's like releasing everything now. Everything's coming out as singles, and so it'll just kind of be a bunch of singles. But then if I decide that I want to put them all in an EP, well, then people have already heard all of these songs before, and
Oh,
so I don't know.
yeah. Don't ever stress that. I think, I mean, unless it's personal taste, unless it's stretched out over years, then maybe stray from like putting them together as like a project after all that time. But if you're putting out, you know, a couple singles or song by song and it builds to this bigger project over the course of a release period, that's really exciting. And a lot of people are actually doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side, the traditional rollout strategy for major labels, top down radio format, is here's the album, and then months and months after the album comes out, they pick a song from that album that everyone's already heard and like, this is the new single.
Mm.
And that's the one they push to radio. And then, you know, if it pops off, people hear it for the first time because they don't know that that artist has an album or anything. So there's no rhyme or reason. It's only up to your creative vision. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you have reservations or ambitions to go one way or the other with however you want to release your music, there's no right or wrong way to do it. And honestly, if the song is imperative to the story you're trying to tell in the body of work, if the only thing that's keeping you from putting it on the project is the fact that it's already out, then friend to friend, put it on the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just that like sometimes getting too deep into thinking about how to market yourself or branding and
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff. If you're trying to gain an audience, then yeah, sometimes thinking too deep into that a little bit.
Well, it's because it's become the job. Like making the music is no longer the job, and we all have to become marketing wizards.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is that should have never been the thing. But you know, it's kind of the byproduct of if you're independent, you're kind of bypassing all of the resources that would typically be around the music at a label or a company like that, which include marketing, which include like promotion and so forth. But in today's music industry, there are so many artists that are just doing everything themselves in the first place, regardless of where they're signed.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are marketing geniuses. And I don't understand what class they took that I didn't, because it's insane. Like how creative and that is kind of a whole different type of artistry when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which kind of in some weird way circles back to the sort of issue of influencers becoming recording artists that don't have any musical background, but like because of their massive platforms and marketing prowess,
Mm-hmm.
the music industry is like, well, let's put a song on them, easy money.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how many of those influencers that are putting songs out, put records out afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
follow it up with like a proper tour, like really want to do music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see in like a year or two or a couple
I don't
years.
think it's going to be that many. I think especially if touring was already kind of a dying business. And I hate saying that because it's my business, but um, people were having trouble selling tickets before COVID in the first place. So while I'm excited to see kind of the mad dash for people to get back out on the road, I'm totally aware of the fact that everything's going digital. Everything is going to live streaming. Everything is going to VR and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'd be curious to see the transition for a lot of musicians that are typically wholly successful through their live act, and how it will kind of translate to live streaming or digital or remote stuff.
Yeah.
And if all of the developments in this sort of new paradigm are going to completely cut the legs out from live music. I really hope it's not that way because, like I said earlier, it's a dream of mine to open a live venue. So,
well, maybe there will be a way of like integrating the both of them, like live streaming and live concerts in a way.
I think you're totally right. I can't.
Don't know how.
I'm not the brains behind that yet. But yeah, I that's why I started streaming on Twitch, is because all my touring got canceled. And as the touring starts to pick up again, I want to find ways to bring live streaming to not necessarily to the stage, but to the tour.
Yeah.
And I have some friends that were early on Twitch, like years and years ago, and kind of bringing it with them on tour. But they're pretty close with like the team at Riot and like did stuff with League and everything. So they had like a non-music related reason to bring Twitch with them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
What I kind of want to do is, like you said, how can we hybridize this new wave with the traditional wave and use it to augment live music rather than kill it? I'll let you figure that one out, to be honest.
Me? Yeah, well, because like the thing is, live streams got popular throughout COVID, but then like a lot of bigger name artists, well, because you gotta if you charge people for being there in person, these the people watching on live streams, if they watch for free, then it feels like it's a little bit unjust, because if they're not paying, and still getting this quality, I mean, obviously there's some difference between being there in person and watching something online, but still, like, you're getting the same content, I guess.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's something to figure out.
The money behind it is going to be the thing that the money behind it is going to be what makes or breaks the idea, because again, that's all that the business is after. So, you know, it'll be interesting to kind of see the future collaborations between live streaming and live music.
Yeah.
But I do think that Twitch and live streaming in general has so much ground to cover and so much opportunity to get deeper involved in music. And it starts with, especially on Twitch, the ability to play that music. And then I think once they kind of figure that out, then we can sort of start to talk about, like, okay, how can you bring this to that and see, like, maybe is there like a paywall for the actual concert, and then the typical kind of live stream happens on either end? Is there like a secondary performance that might not necessarily be the music, but it's like just like a panel or something? Does it become more of an event, like in that space? Or this could also completely change the landscape of concerts in general if it really goes that far. So.
Yeah, like virtual meet and greets, I guess. It'd be like
exactly
a just chatting stream, pre-show or post-show. That'd be cool.
I think there's so much opportunity for it, and it can only enhance the experience for both sides, because you could still have the in-person meet and greet for anybody that really wants to pay up above the ticket price. You can still have the ticket price for the people who want to go to the show. And then you can also have the, you know, like you said, the regular Twitch stream that is, hey, y'all, I'm talking to you before all this stuff happens. And then if you want to watch the show, maybe there's another level of subscription or another level of event specific like purchase.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes down to what's permissible on these platforms.
Yeah.
And I think until those licensing deals and so forth get kind of organized, which I don't think is too far away, to be honest, just off of my own internal discussions
Hopefully.
with some people.
Yeah.
I think you might see it as early as the end of this year and maybe even sometime into before the summer next year.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, like Twitch is owned by Amazon, and Amazon like is one of the biggest companies in the world, so they don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
But I think music is as much of a broken industry as it is, it's still too massive to ignore because of what the product they're selling is. If it was any other product, if it was like any type of art form that wasn't music, I don't think we'd be having this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But like music, like we were talking about earlier, is so fluidly universal and like so widely used by literally everything
Yeah.
that it's just kind of just funny that this still exists. Like, do you remember the video where they had to put on like lo-fi music over Metallica, and Metallica was performing live
Really?
on Twitch, and
Oh.
Twitch had to mute their audio because of DMCA.
No.
Twitch invited Metallica to perform,
Oh,
and then they
no.
couldn't. It was pretty comical.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah, and it's just money and signing a piece of paper at the end of the day that's keeping us from. Because the other thing about it is like I have to look at it with two different hats on, right? I don't want anyone playing my music for free if in front of like thousands and thousands of viewers, and I mean that's for some people that's like a really awesome TV sync. That's like like getting your song placed in something. So like I think that the company needs to do something about it. I'm not going to put it on any of the streamers because at the end of the day, like that's still really great promotion and also like thanks for listening. But I think that the bigger companies themselves have to come to some agreement so we're not breaking the rules, and whether that is Amazon, Twitch paying out the licensing deals or the artists themselves for the music, for the use, or the labels kind of like caving a bit more on what is fair for all their clients, because that's a majority of what everybody on Twitch is listening to is owned by major labels. But that's, I mean, I'll take you till sunset talking about that. So it's something for another day. But
Do you think
all that to say, I think live streaming and live music and everything, there's a really bright future for it if you want to go down that road. And I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Do you think though that like smaller, because you said you're not going to put it on streamers, but like before you said that, I was thinking smaller streamers who maybe only have like 20 viewers or however many people watching who are covering your songs. Would you have the same thoughts and opinions on that?
No, I think that live music. I think that Twitch is built as it stands as a live music venue, so there shouldn't be. And this is brought on by the labels. There shouldn't be a DMCA issue for performance of the music, especially in cover form. And to be totally upfront, anybody, anytime that wants to sing one of my songs is I'm their biggest fan. So and it doesn't matter what size audience it is. It could be just themselves in front of their mirror, or it could be 60,000 people on whoever XQC's channel. I don't care. Like it's amazing. It's that's the highest honor if people start singing your music.
Yeah.
Let alone just listening to it. My opinion on how they need to kind of unpack this starts at the top and ends at the top. It has nothing to do with the creators and the streamers that are involved in the discussion of the product of the people at the top.
Yeah.
And that's just the sad reality of like who owns what. And even in my world, like the distributor that I've been putting music out through was bought by Sony this year. And kind of went completely against their mission statement when they sold to Sony and all this stuff and everything. And it was just kind of like I was kind of confused about what the whole point of calling yourself independent was at that point, because nowadays you have every major label unveiling their independent music wing. And that just, so the word independent just means being slightly less owned now. And so I think I have zero issue with anybody streaming on Twitch wanting to stream music. I think that some people are a little more vocal about, a little more disrespectful to the musicians, to the artists themselves, that kind of don't have the information handy on like how it actually works, how licensing works. But to your point about like people that want to sing the songs, and even especially the smaller streamers that want to put their viewers on to new music, like I want everybody to play my songs on Twitch. I want everybody to add me to your playlists and everything. Like, and I have zero problem with anybody doing that, because at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter how many people are watching, even if it's just you listening to my music. It's like, thank you for doing that. That's really cool. And so I feel like it gets resolved once the people in suits realize that, well, not realize anything. Once they kind of like put egos aside and everything, and put all the business aside and just sort it out. It's because them figuring that out isn't going to change the landscape of like the consumption of music, and it can only benefit both sides to make the music consumable on that platform, because that expands the profile.
Yeah, definitely.
I get really nerdy and long-winded about this stuff.
No,
it's my
cool.
bad.
It's cool. It's cool to listen to like hear your thoughts and opinions on what's going on.
Yeah. It's just stupid though. Like, it's like Metallica's invited to play on Twitch at whatever TwitchCon, digital TwitchCon or GlitchCon or something, and they have to mute the live performance. It's like, Zed, friend of mine, he streams sometimes. He plays Valorant. Jordan Fisher streams. He obviously makes music. T-Pain, pretty active streamer these days. But like, you're gonna tell me, Logic too, you're gonna tell me that if Zed plays Zed's music on Zed's channel, that Zed is risking getting a DMCA strike,
and then getting like however many strikes, they ban your account. They'll just
ban it.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. And again, if you are a streamer that is playing music that is not yours and you know the rules and everything, then you're risking it given the current state of the union. But like, conceptually, this shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even be close. Because of the fact that even now, especially now that Sony has bought the distributor, if I play my music on the stream, I haven't gotten any strikes yet, knock on wood, but like, I'm kind of Zed adjacent in terms of like, if I play my own music on my stream, like there's a chance, and they're doing better by like muting the audio and everything, but like, why are we doing that? Like, why?
What is the point,
why is
really?
It seems like people see problems, and instead of solving them, they just create more problems.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it's gonna get fixed sooner than later. It has to. It's not. It's not like something. Yeah, it's not something that's just gonna like keep going on, because I know for a fact that they're talking about finding a resolution.
That's good. Yeah, like everyone, all the music streamers are deleting VODs now, and or like making playlists on YouTube for these VODs. It's just, well,
when I read that that the live performance counted as DMCA now too, it was just kind of like, what? Why do you even have a music tab on Twitch? Like, what is even the point?
Hi, future Mirabelle popping in here for a quick second just to say that Twitch has updated their DMCA guidelines since Kevin and I spoke a couple months ago. To my understanding, you are allowed to perform covers live now on your live streams on Twitch. They just can't be recorded, so they can't be part of your VODs. So, you can't really have VODs if all you do on stream is sing covers. That's my understanding of it anyway. They've covered the licenses for live performances, but they haven't covered it for recorded performances of covers of these songs that are affiliated with major record labels. That's my understanding of it anyway, Twitch's website will have all the up-to-date information, so be sure to check that out if you want to grasp a better understanding of what's going on with Twitch and its DMCA rules and all of that. But yeah.
And there's been a couple other streamer friends who I've met online, like this singer Jane Rio. She does some cool covers and stuff, and she will say like R.I.P. the VOD because we're singing today. It's just like this is the reason that we're streaming. This is like, I know I play video games when I stream too, but like when I do sing, and the reason I started streaming on Twitch, and I know that the reason a lot of music streamers are on Twitch is because they want to showcase their music, their covers, whatever they're working on, and so forth.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And
I know.
To be frank, I know it's been an issue the whole time, but I think it's only really blown up since COVID started because of how much streaming kind of took off, right?
Yeah. The amount of people who joined Twitch to start music,
everybody
gaming.
streams.
Yeah.
Myself included.
Same.
I'm one of the noobs.
Yeah, me too.
But they'll figure it out.
Hopefully.
It's got to get resolved at some point, and it's just a matter of like how much money the other side's willing to give up.
It's kind of funny though, like the exclusivity that they have for, I mean, I guess you're a partner, and don't they have like you can't live stream on other platforms or something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty ironclad. And I think it goes even a step beyond like my agreement, where like some bigger streamers will sign like legit contracts, with like advances and stuff and so forth, and that's even more exclusive. But once you're partnered, I'm fairly certain that they're not going to get you unless you're monetizing the other places that you're streaming. But like as it stands, like by the letter, you're not allowed to stream anywhere else.
Yeah. But then like with people putting their VODs on YouTube and having their audience kind of go to that direction also, isn't that just kind of ironic? Because
there's something missing so I think in terms of a live streaming company, Twitch is where it's at. Twitch is the spot to be if you want to live stream. And I think growing as a streamer, Twitch is still the place to be.
Still pretty good.
Still pretty good. YouTube is poaching a lot of the big names with really nice contracts, really shiny new deals, and I think definitely making some big strides. And if they stopped doing live streaming, YouTube would still be the number one place to consume video media anywhere. And especially when they unveiled YouTube Shorts and they started competing with Reels and TikTok. But I think that YouTube is sooner than later going to like be like a serious competition to Twitch, unless Twitch can figure out a way to engage people more in the sort of video consumption format realm, making the VODs more accessible and also more of a destination for viewers. The clips and everything are all really cool because that's like content, but like I don't go to people's Twitch channels
just
to
for
find
the
clips.
Yeah.
I look at the ones they post on their social media. Those are the ones that I see if I'm watching my favorite, Warzone gamer do something and I don't see it in the stream. I'm only going to see it on Instagram or Twitter or something, because I don't really go and watch the YouTube videos. I'm a little older than that. I think that it's not my impulse to go to their YouTube channel and watch even though I know that's where they're making a bunch of money. But like Twitch, the two things that beyond the licensing and the music stuff that they need to sort is figuring out a better discovery algorithm, because YouTube's is the best. But it only applies to their videos. It doesn't really apply to streaming yet.
Yeah. But like Twitch
and
has
also
got their raids, which I think is a really good way of meeting.
Raids and gift subs and all the things that put more eyeballs on the channel.
Scam train.
But like exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, like they could add some technology in their sort of mechanism of growth that would make it much more appealing to smaller streamers to grind even more, I think. Because you kind of, I mean, I'm noticing it even in mine. I don't really post on my socials about Twitch that much unless it's like a special event. But you know, I kind of, the raids are where I get majority of the new follows. Whereas like in other social media platforms and YouTube even, you end up on algorithms that introduce you to new audiences that are just surfing the platform for the sake of looking around. And I think that making that more accessible than like going to the certain game or the channel or list of channels and finding something and putting more effort into, well, based on who you watch and what you watch, here's a timeline of things that we think you would like, versus like the 6 recommended channels you always get.
Yeah. I don't really know how.
Oh, this is
Twitch algorithm
this is becoming tech talk, TED talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love it. I'm a sucker for this stuff.
Yeah. I feel like you could go on forever about it.
That's my bad. Yeah.
I mean, no, it's great. It's cool to listen to, like I said before. Yeah. Thanks so much for this chat.
Oh, my pleasure.